my client who I had worked with in the past was just telling me, really updating me on her progress. And so she was really excited to report that in the previous year, she had had her first $500,000 year. But she was essentially asking me like, okay, so I did $500,000, next stop $1 million. But what was my trajectory and what was my process to go through that? I'm really dropping some nuggets here. I'm like, woo. I go in detail with this with my clients, but I'm gonna give y'all this one for free. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and I do all the things. And I'm really excited to say I'm a 7-figure online life and business coach. And that is something that, not a lot of online businesses, but especially women-led online businesses can share. So I'm very, very proud of that. But I want to share how I got to this place. And I was actually inspired to do this topic by a client of mine who came to South Africa with me. So maybe you remember some of the videos that I've done in the past where I was talking about how I was getting ready for this amazing trip to South Africa, this amazing retreat that I was hosting for clients in South Africa. Well, we did it and it went off without a hitch. It was amazing, just an incredible trip. The video is coming out. Let me just say the content for that is definitely coming on the channel. There's no way that I could just do a video sitting here explaining about it. It was just so incredible. But what was interesting is one of the mornings I was having breakfast and some of the other attendees were downstairs also having breakfast, and then my client who I had worked with in the past was just telling me, really updating me on her progress. And so she was really excited to report that in the previous year, she had had her first $500,000 year. So she had done over $500,000 in her business, which is really crazy. But she was essentially asking me like, okay, so I did $500,000, next stop $1 million. And she kind of wanted to know what was my trajectory and what was my process to go through that. And so casually, because again, I'm like eating and we're just chatting. It wasn't like a seminar or anything like that, but just kind of off the top of my head, I was explaining the different phases that my own business has gone through and the different systems that I've had built on the back end that have allowed me to generate 7 figures in my business. So if you got your eyes on 7 figures, maybe you've been doing 6 figures for a while, even multi-6 figures, and you're like, okay, I know this year is my 7-figure year. You're gonna love this video. So let's get into it right now. All right, the first thing that you have to have, and that my client did have because she had worked with me in the past, that is a high value offer. So a lot of people talk about just a high ticket offer, but I actually prefer to use the term high value versus high ticket, because if it's high value, it'll automatically be high ticket. But I think a lot of people focus on high ticket and they don't really talk about high value. So the price is in proportion to the value that is being provided, and not just the value from just a objective term, but a value from a subjective term to your client. So my client did a really great job of identifying a target market that would place a high value on the types of programs and services that she was offering. And so in addition to identifying that target client who places a high value on what she has to offer, she also said, how can I offer more value in this coaching program so that automatically is worth more and people are willing to pay more for it. So a lot of people try to do a scale approach where they're like, oh, I'm gonna have a low ticket ebook and I'm gonna sell 10,000 copies of this ebook or 100,000 copies of this $10 ebook in order to get me to $1 million. And while mathematically it's possible, in reality, it's not really possible because the volume of people that you would have to essentially introduce to your ebook, right? So if we're being super generous and we're saying only 10% of the people are actually gonna buy your ebook and you need 10 or 100,000 sales, then that lets you know how many people you need exposed to your offer. So that's why I find that having lower ticket and even mid-ticket offers aren't enough. You need in your repertoire. So I'm not saying don't have any. You can have some low ticket, you can have some mid-ticket, but you do need a high value offer somewhere in there, because it's that mix that's ultimately gonna allow you to get to 7 figures that much faster. And speaking of my client, she mentioned that she had hit her $500,000 year with just 40 clients. So I'll let you do the math on that. So it's a lot easier to hit these revenue goals when you need less clients than when you need more clients. But obviously, in order to do it with less clients, mathematically, you need a higher value offer. So I find that is really the bedrock and the foundation that you need in order to get to 7 figures. All right, the next thing that you really need is brand building content. And so I say this in particular because a lot of the discussion around content is just focused on client conversion content, which is good. And that's content that, I create as well and that I've talked about as well. But oftentimes we think about, okay, how can I create content that is going to, attract my target market and encourage them to sign up for something or to sign up for a free call so that I could close them, right? I want to create content that makes the sale. But I find that if you're trying to get to 7 figures, you actually need broader brand-based content. So it's not just content that is like so sales focused, but it's content that is brand focused, meaning content that is more around what's your overall philosophy, what's your overall ethos, what do you stand for, who are you as a person, how can people get to know you, right? People love to buy from people they know, like, and trust. This is no different even in, big brands, corporate America. I think about the difference between buying like, a nondescript tablet manufactured overseas and an iPad, even though I know iPads are manufactured in China, but they're designed in Cupertino. But just the lore of iPad, right? And an Apple product. Oh, there's a whole brand around that, right? We think of Steve Jobs, we think about what Apple stands for. Oh, this cool, I'm a cool creative kid. Again, whether that's true or not, the brand stands for something. And so it's no different in your coaching business. If you are just focused on conversion content, meaning what do I need to put out there so that people, buy from me, you can kind of commoditize yourself without realizing it, especially if you don't also have brand building content that lets people into your role, let them know who you are, helps them connect with you as a person, what's your philosophy, why are you doing this beyond just wanting to make money, like what is your reason for being? If you don't have a lot of content like that, it's difficult to scale to 7 figures because you're gonna find that you hit a ceiling because again, you're just so sales focused, how do we get prospects in, close them, mathematically, you're gonna find that you have more attrition as you kind of hit that ceiling. And so it's very important to have brand building content, not just client conversion content. All right, the next thing that you need, and this is something that I was speaking about with my client in particular, is you need a strong lead generation system or a system that's gonna attract prospects, ideal potential clients who might want to work with you. Now, it's not just general, like, oh, I need to push content out there or run ads or something like that where I can just get in front of people. You need to specifically get in front of your ideal target market. And in fact, not just your ideal target market overall, but your ideal target market for that high value offer. So I'm really dropping some nuggets here. I'm like, woo. I go in detail with this with my clients, but I'm gonna give y'all this one for free. You want to have a lead generation system that doesn't just attract in general, oh, my ideal client, but an ideal client specifically for your high value offer. Because again, the more people that are exposed to that, depending on what your sales numbers are, that's when you can start to get to a place where you can create consistency in your revenue because okay, if we speak to 100 people in a month and on average 20 of the people purchase, depending on how high value your offer is, it might not be that hard to hit 7 figures. As I mentioned, my client, she only needed 40 clients to hit $500,000. Presumably she would only need 80 clients to hit $1 million. So again, you have to know your math, but if you have a high value offer and you don't, relatively speaking, need that many clients in order to hit your numbers, well, then you can back into it. But having a lead generation system is really important for that. And I find that a lot of people mess this up because when they're just hitting 6 figures or multi 6 figures, it's just like broadly like, oh, my target market, can I create a system or content that attracts my target market? But if you're trying to get to the 7-figure level, you also need to have a system or a pipeline that specifically attracts the ideal client for that high value offer that you would have created in step number 1. All right, I have more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. Is this year going to be your 7-figure year? Go ahead and share in the comments below. All right, the next thing you need if you want to hit 7 figures is you need a consistent sales system. And this has to be dialed in. A lot of people mess this up because it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's definitely possible to get to 6 figures and even multi 6 figures, kind of throwing spaghetti on the wall. Maybe you're just kind of creating content haphazardly and you're just showing up and you're being really consistent and you're just kind of being all over the place. Naturally you are going to attract people who ultimately want to buy from you. But if you're trying to get to the 7-figure level, it needs to get refined, it needs to get tight. You need to start dialing things in and you need to create a sales system that you can count on day in and day out. It's going to bring me this many prospects, right? And this is connected to your lead generation system because, you know, your lead generation system is what brings people to your brand, but your sales system is what brings people to the sale, right? So it's actually kind of like two sides of the same coin. So yes, you have your lead generation system, but once they're in your world, once you've, you know, attracted those prospects, then ultimately what leads them to the sale, whatever that what is, that's the mechanism that you need to have very, very dialed in. It can't be throwing spaghetti on the wall. It's got to be something very specific that you know, we do this on this particular cadence. Maybe we do it weekly, we do it monthly, we do it quarterly, we do it annually, but we know that every time we do this, this is the percentage of clients that we will get based on the amount of leads that we generated. It needs to be that precise and that dialed in. Your sales system needs to be something that you don't have to think about anymore. Like you've created it, you know it works, and it's like something that you and your team can just run consistently over and over in order to ultimately generate 7 figures. All right, the next thing you need, and this is something that a lot of people don't focus on, especially because they are so focused on either that high value offer or their signature coaching program, is you need a continuing option for your existing clients. So yes, you've done all this work, you've created your high value offer, you've built your brand, you've got lead generation going on, you've got a sales system, and things are working great. And people are joining your program or they're coming into it. But after they join, then what, right? You don't want to have a business where essentially people are only buying from you one time. And I find that a lot of people neglect their existing customer base because they're so focused on getting new customers or getting new clients. And so really to get to the 7-figure level, you kind of want to have that cherry on top, right? You want to have something in your business that's really going to put you over the edge. And I find that that is having continuing options for your existing clients. So you want to think about your coaching program. You get the person success, they go through your coaching program, they get the result ultimately that they paid you for. Well, then what, right? If they are high achievers and they, never stop learning, never want to stop getting results, I'm sure that there's some new level that they are embarking on, right? I even think about my client who inspired this, right? We had worked together for an entire year to get her to this point. And now she's, coming halfway across the world with me to attend my South African retreat. So, another continuing option. So it doesn't have to be a retreat, but think about what are other ways that you can engage your existing clients and provide value, because you'll find that one, not only is it beneficial for your clients, but it helps you kind of get that extra nudge that you might need, or put you in overflow when it comes to maybe the difference between a multi 6-figure year and an actual 7-figure year. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe you're at the place where you're like, you know what, Courtney, I'm like your client. I'm doing 6 figures, I'm multi 6 figures, and I'm really ready to scale to my 7-figure level. I actually have a coaching program. I don't talk a lot about it because it is very specific for people who are at a certain level in their business, but I work with you directly, one-on-one, direct coaching, and just showing you the behind the scenes and helping you implement a lot of these systems in your business. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can learn more by speaking with my enrollment team. They'll ask you specific questions about where you are in your business and let you know if it's a good fit for you, and if not, what else we might have that might be a better fit. But if you're interested, you can book a call with them right now by clicking the link below. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you are following me on Instagram. I post there daily. I show the behind the scenes of my life, all of those things. You can follow me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.